Hi, and welcome to this 22nd lecture in ME303 heat transfer. Today, we'll continue our discussion on the energy equations. So, we've been talking about the development of the energy equation, and post that, we said that now we'll be non dimensionalizing it, we'll be understanding the behavior of the solution for a simple situation, which is a flat plate laminar boundary layer. And for that purpose, we will be solving it using certain mathematical techniques. So towards the end of the last lecture, I showed to you that the energy and the x momentum equation, they look very similar to each other. So let me write the expressions for the energy equation as well as the expression for the x momentum equation. So the x momentum equation, it looks, so you have u del u by del x plus v del u by del y, and on the right hand side we have the diffusion term, which is the kinematic viscosity nu times del to u by del y 2. So this is the x momentum equation for the boundary layer. We have this flat plate and there's a boundary layer. So this equation holds good for the region inside the boundary layer. So that is this region. Okay. So we had the energy equation as well that we derived in the last two lectures. So this was u times del t by del x plus v times del t by del y, and that is equal to alpha times del 2t by del y 2. Okay, so this is again on the right hand side we have alpha, which is the thermal diffusivity, and then we have the second derivative of T, the temperature with respect to Y, because again in the boundary layer region we have the temperature going starting from T infinity, sorry, Ts at the surface. It has to then go to T infinity at the edge of the boundary layer on the top. The temperature varies from Ts to T infinity, so that is the reason you have a temperature gradient where the temperature varies as a function of Y. When we compared these two equations, we saw that in fact we can see that they look very similar. Okay, except so you have a u, you have a v, and then in the x momentum equation the unknown is u. So this is your unknown, and then I've circled the unknown, and on the right hand side you have the kinematic viscosity, which is the diffusivity for momentum, because it is this kinematic viscosity which causes the momentum to diffuse from one layer to the other when they slip over each other. In the energy equation, the unknown is T. So now I circle the unknown here, and then we have alpha, which is the thermal diffusivity. Otherwise, the equations look exactly the same. So from this, we realized that this quantity, which is the ratio of nu and alpha, which we call the Prandtl number, is extremely important. In fact, this quantity will tell us how fast or slow the momentum and the energy equation, the momentum and the thermal boundary layers, they grow with respect to each other. So let's take an example. So let's take an example of a situation where my Prandtl number was close to 1. Okay? Which is the case, in fact, for gases. So when your Prandtl number is 1, then what that means is the momentum diffusivity is of the same order as the thermal diffusivity. So that means that the penetration of the effect of the plate, which is the plate, what it does is it reduces the x velocity to 0 on the surface. So the penetration of the effect of the plate in the on the velocity, x velocity, is the same as the penetration of the effect of the temperature because of the presence of the plate. Okay. So both the momentum as well as the thermal effects, they penetrate at the same rate because the diffusion rate for both is the same. So it is a diffusion rate that decides, or it is this quantity nu or alpha that decides how fast is the effect diffusing because of the presence of the plate. So if my Prandtl numbers of the order of 1 is around 1, then what I see is that my momentum boundary layer, it grows similar to my thermal boundary layer. Now on the other side of the spectrum, if I was to draw a spectrum, let's say on a logarithmic scale, so I'll have my gases in this region between 0.1 and 1. Then on the extreme left, which is in the region where my Prandtl number values are much smaller than 1. So in this region, what it means is that my thermal diffusivity is much larger in magnitude as compared to the momentum diffusivity. So an example for this could be liquid metals. So liquid metals allow a very large thermal diffusivity as compared to the momentum diffusivity. So in those cases, since the diffusion of temperatures much more prominent than the diffusion of momentum, so my thermal boundary layer is going to be much larger in size as compared to my momentum boundary layer, because the thermal effects will penetrate much deeper because of the high diffusion rate or high diffusivity of these liquid metals. Okay. Okay, so the thermal effects penetrate much deeper because my alpha value, which is the thermal diffusivity for these liquid metals, is much larger than the momentum diffusivity. And then on the further right of the spectrum, I have materials for which the Prandtl number is much larger than 1. So these an example of this is oils. Okay, so oils have momentum diffusivity which is much larger than their thermal diffusivity. So that results in a Prandtl number which is much larger than 1. So what that means is, since the momentum diffusivity is very high as compared to the thermal diffusivity, so the momentum effects penetrate much deeper. So that means the momentum boundary layer in this case is much larger than the thermal boundary layer. Okay. So effectively what we see is that the ratio of my momentum boundary layer to my thermal boundary layer, this ratio is Prandtl number is growing like Prandtl number. In fact, it's typically modeled as Prandtl number to the power of n. where this n is some positive constant. Okay, so what that means is that so all these effects, all these three effects of over the complete spectrum of Prandtl numbers, from going from liquid metals to gases to oils, can be modeled as just one equation. And you can see how important the quantity, this non-dimensional quantity, similarity parameter Prandtl number is, because it tells us the relative thicknesses, or the relative rates at which the momentum and the thermal boundary layers grow. So it contains the information of the relative or the ratio of the momentum diffusivity to the thermal diffusivity. So we will use that a lot, and we'll reinforce our understanding of this parameter, as well as we'll reinforce the importance of using Prandtl number for engineering analysis in convection problems. So let's go back to our equations. So these equations that we've talked about, the X momentum equation and the energy equation for temperature. In fact, well, let's write all the equations that we have. So for a flat plate, so remember that this analysis that we have been that we are trying to do is for a simple situation where you have this flat plate at zero angle of incidence, and then you have a fluid at a free stream velocity of q infinity and temperature T infinity, and the flat plate temperature is T surface. And then of course you have a momentum and say the velocity boundary layers developing. In this case, I've just assumed just in this case, let's say the momentum and the thermal boundary layer. So in this case, my delta by delta T is less than 1. So that is my Prandtl number is less than 1, but that is just for discussion. So in this case, let us write all the equations. Our aim, remember, is to solve for the temperature here, because we developed the energy equation to solve for the temperature as a function of x and y. And then if I take the temperature as a function of y at a given x value, that is at a given position in at a given distance from the leading edge of the plate, that will give me the gradient of temperature as a function of y. And once I have my del T by del y at the surface of the plate, then I can use that to find the heat transfer coefficient H, as well as the rate of heat transfer Q. And I remember that the aim in heat transfer is always to find the rate of heat transfer, that is the Q value. So we are doing all this to get the temperature as a function of x and y in this case. So let's write the energy equation again. Okay, so this was the energy equation, but you can see that this equation depends on U and V. So the convection terms on the left hand side require us to know what the U and V values are inside the boundary layer. Okay, so to find these U and V values, we need the equations for U and V, which we already have learned in our fluid mechanics course. So this is, you have the mass conservation equation, or the continuity equation. Remember that we're talking, we are assuming that the fluid is incompressible, or the flow is incompressible. And then you have the x and y momentum equations. So I've written the x momentum equation. I don't write the y momentum equation because if you again go back to your fluid mechanics for boundary layers, you'll see that your y momentum equation essentially boils down to the pressure gradient dp by dx, which is the same as dp infinity by dx. Okay. So there is the y momentum equation simply tells you the pressure gradient, what the pressure gradient is. So that we don't need to write that. In fact, I should write it like this, and in many cases we simply write dp infinity by dx. So we assume that the pressure gradient inside the boundary layer as a function, the x pressure gradient is the same as the pressure gradient outside the boundary layer, because the boundary layer is is not very thick. Okay. So this is the system of equations we have, and ultimately in this course we want to solve for the temperature. So for solving for the temperature, since it depends on u and v, so we need to write the u and v equations as well. Now in this flat plate situation, we already know that this term dp infinity by dx is 0. So we will remove this. So we'll just remove this term from here. So we simply have this system of equations. In fact, let me write that. So I'll keep it in a bracket and then say that this is 0, because I will want to refer to this term in my discussion later. Okay, so let's see the functional dependence of temperature. So since we want to solve for temperature, let us see, well, before that we have to write the boundary conditions, because this system of partial differential equations that we have, the system has to be solved given the boundary conditions. So we need the boundary conditions for u, v and t. Well, in this case we have the x momentum equation, so we need the boundary conditions for u and t. So at y equal to 0, that is on the surface of the plate, your u is equal to 0. So that is your, well, u and v both are 0. So that's the no slip condition. And the temperature is the surface temperature. That again is known to us. We are assuming that we are using a Dirichlet boundary condition for u, v and t, all of them at y equal to 0. And then in the free stream, or at y tending to infinity, in some cases we say y tend to infinity, and in some cases we actually find the we say that for y greater than my boundary layer thickness for temperature or momentum, whichever I'm talking about, I apply this. Okay, but technically, since you have your boundary layer, I mean, theoretically the effects take infinite distance to penetrate. It's an exponential variation. So y tends sorry, it's an asymptote. So you have at y tends to infinity, your u is equal to u free stream, and your temperature is equal to t free stream. Okay, so these are this system of equations that we have, the three partial differential equations, the continuity x, momentum, and the energy equation. They're subject to these boundary conditions that we have here. Okay. Okay, so let us see the functional dependence. So before we dive into try to solve the system of equations for a flat plate at zero angle of incidence for an incompressible flow, and we must also write that this is a steady state situation. That is, the temperature and velocities are not dependent on time. And it's a two-dimensional analysis, so we have there's no dependence on the width or the z coordinate. Okay, so let's see the functional dependence. So T depends on, so if I look at my energy equation, I can see that my T depends on X and Y, of course. It also depends on U and V. And from the right hand side, I see that it depends on alpha. But we have to consider the boundary conditions as well. So T depends on, because if I change my boundary condition, my solution will change. So my T depends on Ts and T infinity as well. Okay, so T is a function of X, Y, U, V, alpha, Ts, and T infinity. Now, but U and V, since it's a coupled system, we can see that U depends on, if I look at the X momentum equation, then my U depends on X and Y. I won't write V because then I'll have a separate equation for V as well. So that ways we can remove the dependence on V. Then we have the kinematic viscosity, nu. We also have this term dp infinity by dx. And then we have to consider the boundary conditions. So the only thing we have is u infinity here. Okay. So this depends on. So we don't need to actually write the v dependence. We're just interested in u here. So you see that u depends on x, y, nu, dp infinity by dx and u infinity. Okay, so this dp infinity by dx simply is the effect of geometry. If you had a plate which was curved plate, or a body which was had a curvature, then your dp infinity by dx would not have been 0. So in that case, it would have depended on the so this dp by dx term brings in the effect of geometry. In our case, it is 0, so we'll remove it again. But I just wanted to talk about it. Okay, so if I include the effects, so rather than stating u and v here, I include the effect of nu, and then so I can say that my temperature is a function of these parameters, which is x and y. Of course, these are the independent coordinates. And then we have the thermophysical properties, and that is nu and alpha. And then we have the the terms coming from the boundary conditions, which is u infinity, Ts, and T infinity. So one has to solve for this functional dependence. So if one of these parameters, such as, so if I solve the system for a given set of parameters, and then all of a sudden I have to solve it again for a different plate temperature, then I may be in a problem, because then I have to um, develop a new functional form. Okay, and this is where the idea of non-dimensionalization helps us a lot, because as we have seen in the past, that when we non-dimensionalize the system, we reduce the number of the independent parameters in the functional form, and that helps us simplify the analysis a lot. Okay, so let's do that non-dimensionalization here as well. So for that, we'll define these parameters. So x star, which is a non-dimensional length, it's given as x upon L. So L in this case can be considered the length of the plate. Similarly, you can non-dimensionalize the y coordinate with L as well. Then you can non-dimensionalize your x velocity, which is u. So you can write u star as a ratio of u and free stream velocity u infinity. we can use the same scale u infinity for non-dimensionalizing the v velocity. Okay, and then we need to non-dimensionalize the temperature, which we have done in the past. These are all definitions. And so we define theta. So on the denominator, we have Ts minus T infinity. And we define theta in such a way so that on the surface of the plate, my theta value is 0. So this can be written as if on the surface of the plate, my T is Ts, so this becomes 0. And in the free stream region, that is beyond the boundary layer, temperature boundary layer, my temperature is equal to T infinity. So then my theta becomes 1 there. And if required, we can non-dimensionalize the pressure as well, like this. So in this case, we won't need that because we're talking about a flat plate where my dp infinity by dx is 0. But we can still include this term. So when we substitute these, so after I non-dimensionalize my governing differential equations, which is my continuity, momentum, and energy equations. So I'll write the final expression. I'll leave it to you to do the algebra. So the x momentum equation, it becomes so I'm including the pressure term here, but again, this is 0 in this particular case. Okay, so this is what we get. Okay, where this Reynolds number is defined as u infinity times L. So Re with the subscript L. So that means the length scale is the length of the plate here divided by the kinematic viscosity. Okay. Similarly, my energy equation let's call it theta star. Becomes like this. So now if I look at the system, again, the continuity equation stays as it is. So if I look at, I mean, as it is, as in like it has del u star by del x star plus del v star by del y star, that is 0. Okay, so if I look at this system, now I try to write the functional dependence of theta star. So my theta star, of course, depends on x star and y star. Along with that, if I see the energy equation, the only thing that appears as the coefficient is this Reynolds number and the Prandtl number. So it depends on the values of Reynolds number and Prandtl number And then of course it depends on U star and V star as well, but this my U star and V star then again depends only on the Reynolds number. So this is the complete functional dependence. Now we again have dp star by dx star, which brings in the effect of geometry. But in our flat plate situation, this term is not there. So you can see that we have drastically reduced the number of independent variables in the functional form from, so we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and now we only have 4. Okay, so the Buckingham-Pi theorem works here. So we've got rid of 3 dimensions here. So we have x star, y star, Reynolds number, and Prandtl number. So we'll come back to this. We'll come back to this functional dependence in a while. But as we've done in the past, so let us analyze the velocity effects first, because we are used to that from fluid mechanics, and then we'll draw a parallel between the velocity and the thermal effects to demonstrate the development of the solution or the analysis or the insight that we can draw from this non-dimensionalization. So this discussion may be a bit of a recap for us, because we already have done a fluid mechanics course. So this U star, which is my non-dimensional x velocity, it is some function of x star, y star, my Reynolds number, and geometry. But again, this is 0 because we are working with a flat plate. Okay. So I must write that it's a recap from fluid mechanics. So what we did in the past, so we non-dimensionalized our x momentum equation. So my U star is a function of x star, y star, and Reynolds number only. And then our aim was to solve for the wall shear stress, which was mu times del u by del y at y equal to 0. In this case, since I'm solving the system for U star as a function of x star, so I can write this write my u as u star times u infinity. So this gives me a u infinity here. So I get a del u star, and then I also get a del y star. So that gives an L here, and this is at y star equal to 0. Okay, so this is what we typically did because we had the functional dependence of u star on y star. So we could use that for writing del u star by del y star and y star equal to 0. And then we remember our aim was we tended to find the skin friction coefficient, which was defined as the wall shear stress divided by rho u infinity square by 2. So if I write that, and then I substitute the expression for the wall shear stress from above, then I get rid of one of the u infinities. And this, so I retain the 2, and then the denominator has rho u infinity L, numerator has mu, so that becomes Reynolds number. And then we have del u star by so this is this is the expression for my skin friction coefficient. Okay, so the aim was always to find the skin friction coefficient, which this is how we found the expression for, of course, this remember that we're talking about laminar flows here. The analysis is not valid for turbulent flows because the streamlines do not stay like this. There's a lot of mixing happening, so we can't use this idea for turbulent flows. So what we see is that this CF is some function of x star and Reynolds number only, because it's calculated at y star equal to 0, this gradient here. So of course the y star dependence is removed. So the aim, of course, was to find this dependence of the skin friction coefficient on x star and Reynolds number for a given geometry. So if you're working with, let's say, aeroplanes, we're working with aerofoils, and we have a certain shape of an aerofoil, and we are looking for the skin friction coefficient for different Reynolds number situation, like the plane moving faster or slower, and so on. So we don't need to solve it again and again. So if my aerofoils are geometrically similar, then I can simply sort of create a dictionary of solutions for my skin friction coefficient as a function of x star and Reynolds number, and then that is enough. That is all we need as an engineer to analyze the drag forces for different velocities and length of aerofoils and so on. So there's nothing new that we need to solve for again. So the main job was to find this dependence of the skin friction coefficient and find this functional dependence either as a table or as an empirical formula that fits in the data for a given range of values of x star and Reynolds number quite well. So this is the end of recap of what we have been doing in fluid mechanics in boundary layer problems. So now that we've talked about the fluid mechanics, let's go back to heat transfer. So let's go back to the functional form for theta that we had derived. So I'll just copy this functional form. Okay. So here we don't need the dp star by dx star because we are taking a flat plate. So my theta stars, a function of x star, y star, the Reynolds number and the Prandtl number, as we saw earlier. Yes. So now, like in fluid mechanics, the aim is to find first the similar to wall shear stress we have. In fact, the main aim is to find the rate of heat transfer. For that, we have to find the heat transfer coefficient. So earlier we had written the expression for the heat transfer coefficient. Yes, it was minus k fluid del T by del Y at Y equal to 0. And in the denominator, we had Ts minus T infinity. Okay, so since we have the theta star here available to us, so we write del T by del Y in terms of non-dimensionalized parameters, that is theta star and Y star. So we convert this del T by del Y as del theta star by del Y star at Y star equal to 0. So when we do that, the Y star gives us an L in the denominator, and the theta star gives us a T infinity minus Ts in the numerator. And then we have del theta star Okay, so del theta star by del y star at y star equals 0. So when I simplify this, this gives me, so the minus sign goes away because we have a del t infinity by minus ts upon ts minus t infinity. So that gives us a minus sign that cancels with the minus sign here. So we get a kf upon L. Okay, so you can see that this del theta star by del y star has no dimension because it's written in terms of the non-dimensionalized parameters. Okay, and this is our h. So what we do is we define a new parameter, which is the product of h and L and divided by kf, which is non-dimensional. In fact, this HL by Kf is the temperature gradient in the non-dimensionalized parameters at the surface. And this has a name. We call it the Nusselt number. Okay, the last T is silent here. So this is the Nusselt number. And it's very common in the convection discussions to talk about the Nusselt number rather than the heat transfer coefficient H. For the reason since that Nusselt number is a non-dimensional number, so we just get a value. It's very easy to compare situations. So higher Nusselt number means typically higher H value, that is higher ultimately rate of heat transfer for that situation. Okay, so depending on if you want to increase the rate of heat transfer or decrease, you may expect a high Nusselt number value or a low Nusselt number value depending on the requirement that you have. Okay, so this Nusselt number, which gives us information about the heat transfer coefficient, is nothing but the temperature gradient at the surface of the body, surface of the plate, in non-dimensional terms. So it's del theta star by del y star at y star equal to 0. So as we'll see later that the engineers have done a lot of empirical, have developed a lot of empirical correlations for different geometries, different situations, where we tend to find the Nusselt number values for a given range of operating parameters and as a function of different variables. So we saw that our theta star was a function of x star, y star, re and pr. So if I write the functional dependence of the Nusselt number, so the Nusselt number is a function of, since Nusselt number is nothing but del theta star by del y star at y star equal to 0, so it depends on x star. It does not depend on y star because it is defined at y star equal to 0, this gradient. And then of course it depends on the Reynolds number REL, that is Reynolds number defined for the length of the plate, and the Prandtl number for the fluid. Okay, so what we see is that this Nusselt number is a function of these three parameters. So as engineers, we have to find this functional dependence, and in case we can develop a dictionary of solutions, or we can develop empirical correlations for the value of Nusselt number as a function of these three parameters for a given geometry, we have solved our problems. You can use those correlations for solving problems, that is for the calculation of the rate of heat transfer Q, which ultimately is linked to a design criteria. Okay, so going back to the fluid discussions, so there, if you remember, we had the skin friction coefficient, which was a function of x star and re with the Reynolds number. So here we have an extra parameter, which is the Prandtl number, in the dependence of the Nusselt number functional form. Now remember that this Nusselt number is based on the local heat transfer coefficient H. Okay. So this is the H value at a given X value for the plate. But as we saw earlier that we tend to find the average H or the H bar, which is nothing but which is defined in such a way so that it helps us calculate the rate of heat transfer for the whole plate or the whole surface. we can if we have the h bar given to us for a given length of the plate, so we can write the corresponding Nusselt number as the nu bar, or the averaged Nusselt number. So this since you know that h bar was given as 1 by a integral dA, and then you have h times dA. Just recalling the definition of h bar. So since the h bar involves the integration over the plate surface area, which includes the length of the plate, so in this case, h bar is not a function of x star anymore, because it's been integrated out. The x star parameter has been integrated for the complete length L. So this means that my Nusselt number, the average Nusselt number, is only a function of the Reynolds number and the Prandtl number. Just like the average skin friction coefficient is only a function of the Reynolds number in fluid mechanics. Okay, so we'll be seeing this non-dimensional parameter Nusselt number extremely frequently in the next few lectures. So we'll be talking more about it. But remember that the average Nusselt number is a function of the Reynolds number and the Prandtl number for laminar flows. Okay, so we're still talking about laminar flows till now. Okay, so this brings us to the end of our discussion on the non-dimensionalization of our energy equation, which involves convection as well as conduction. So just quickly recapping today's discussion. So we talked about the x and the x momentum equation and the energy equation, and we talked about the importance of this Prandtl number, which is the ratio of the momentum diffusivity to the thermal diffusivity, which tells us how the boundary layers grow, how the velocity and the temperature boundary layers grow for different materials or different fluids. Then we wrote the governing differential equation, the system of coupled governing differential equations, which were the continuity equation, the x momentum equation, and the energy equation. This, remember, is for a region inside the boundary layer. And we also wrote the boundary conditions to close to make sure that this system is well posed, the problem is well posed. Then the approach was to non-dimensionalize it and to understand the non-dimensional parameters, or the dependence of the skin friction coefficient and in this case the Nusselt number on the Reynolds number and the Prandtl number. So this gave us an understanding that typically it is these two non-dimensional parameters, the Reynolds number and the Prandtl number, which affect the Nusselt number values, and Nusselt number contains the information about the heat transfer coefficient, which can then be used to calculate the rate of heat transfer, that is the Q value in watts, and that is the main aim in heat transfer. So now the next step is, now that we have got some idea as to the functional dependence of the Nusselt number on Reynolds number and Prandtl number, sorry, this should be P. So now that we have understood this dependence, the next step is to be able to generate solutions, because functional dependence is one thing, and getting that exact function for different situations is what we need to be able to calculate del theta star by del y star, so that we can get the actual value of Nusselt number for the on the surface of the plate or the body. So what we'll do now is in the next lecture we will try to solve this equation, that is the energy equation. But what we'll see is that this energy equation, which we are solving for theta star, the unknown here is theta star. The theta star depends on our u star and v star. Okay, so that means that we have to have the solution of the x momentum, x and y momentum equations, so that we know the values of u star and v star. So for that we have to solve the x momentum equation, but there may be situations where the X momentum equation, since it depends on the Reynolds number, and the Reynolds number has got thermophysical properties, the density and the viscosity. So these density and viscosity of the fluid, they are in some cases strong functions of the temperature. Okay, so that means the X momentum equation and the energy equation, they're both coupled to each other. So the X momentum equation depends on Reynolds number, which depends on the temperature, and the temperature equation depends on the U star and V star values, which depends on the Reynolds number. Which depends on the temperature. So that means they're coupled to each other. So in a most general sense, we cannot solve them. I mean, we can solve them, but the solution techniques are complicated. But for some situations, like for example, when the fluid is incompressible, and that means the density does not change as a function of pressure. And the other situation is that when the thermophysical properties are extremely weak functions of temperature, or at least for the range of temperatures we are working with, the thermophysical properties do not change much. So we can assume them to be constants. So what that means is the X momentum equation is completely decoupled from the energy equation, because we do not need to solve the energy equation to get the solution for U star and V star. So if that is the case, then we can solve the X momentum equation first. So obtain the U star and V star expression for the complete boundary layer region. And once we have that, then we can use those U star and V star solutions to solve our energy equation. So this is the exact approach we'll be using. So for this flat plate situation, we'll assume that the equations can be decoupled, and then we'll solve the energy equation, because we already have learned how to solve the X momentum equation in our fluid mechanics course. So here we'll be solving the energy equation, assuming that U star and V star is given to us from our fluid mechanics. Then we will obtain a solution for theta star, and then we'll use that solution to then find the value of the heat transfer coefficient and the Nusselt number for the flat plate situations. Okay, so this is going to be the discussion for the next lecture. So thank you very much, and I'll see you in the next class.